This is definitely one of the most highly requested videos that I have ever filmed. I've had a few requested about as much as this, but this was definitely a big one. This is MannyMUA's Lunar Beauty Life's a Drag palette. Manny's audience is huge, and I think because he has such a wide exposure, people have very strong opinions about how they feel about him, and therefore, even without trying the palette, kind of having an opinion about whether they want to purchase it based on what they know about Manny. Now, for me personally, I'm going to try to strip away all of that, and we're just going to talk about the product as is, pretending like everything is stripped away from it except for the shadows and the shadow quality. We're going to do a wear test, we're going to do swatches, we're going to do some comparisons with other palettes, and if that sounds good to you, hang tight, we're getting into it right now. Without gabbing on, let's just go ahead and talk about this palette. We're going to start with brand details. So this is the first launch of Lunar Beauty. It is $45, but with shipping for me, it was $51.50. This brand is cruelty-free and made in the US. Now, as far as the vegan thing, if you look at the ingredient list, all of the ingredients seem to be vegan. Manny did mention in his video that he did not, because of time, I believe he said, get this as certified vegan, so he could not put it on the packaging. What my thought is he probably didn't realize that he had to go through a process in order to get it to be certified vegan, and that's probably why it doesn't say it. I do want to quickly read their return policy in case you're curious. Returns will be accepted only for items damaged during transit, so if you don't like it, then you cannot return it. Only if it is damaged may you return it. If you happen to receive a damaged palette, we will gladly accept your return if received within 30 days from the original purchase date. Return must be received back to the address listed below in the original packaging and must contain photos of the issue. What? It says must contain photos of the issue and include the packing slip. I'm not quite sure what photos of the issue means. I don't know, maybe like a screen capture of your purchase order or something. I don't know. I'm a little confused by that. But I will put any clarifying information down below. I'll DM Manny and see if I can get information on that, because I just reread that and now I'm confused. In their FAQ, there's another interesting thing here. It says, will Lunar Beauty be available at any other retailers? Yes, we will soon be announcing our partnership with US and overseas retailers. Stay tuned. And then also about international customs and duty charges, duty fees, customs taxes are not covered by Lunar Beauty. You do have to pay those if you purchase this outside of the US. Now let's go ahead and talk about what you get in this palette. So as you can see, it is very thick. I'm going to show you some other palettes, kind of show you the size. This is Dominique Cosmetics Latte palette. Kind of show you the thickness there. And then this is Laura Lee's Cat's Pajamas next to it. This is the Bon Bon palette by Too Faced. Kind of see what that looks like. And then the Urban Decay Naked palette as far as the size of the palette. So you can see this one is very, very large. I also wanted, of course, to compare it to his friend Laura Lee's Nudie Patootie palette. Laura Lee's is just a slight bit longer, but Manny's is thicker. Now let's look at the inside and look at the pan sizes. They look like they are the same size as Laura's pans. Okay, definitely bigger than the Too Faced Bon Bon's pans. Here is next to the Urban Decay Naked palette, the original. Definitely larger than those. I think these are about a gram each. And they are definitely significantly smaller in diameter than the Kristen Dominique palette. They are 1.5 gram pans, so that leads us to $2.14 per gram if you're planning on hitting pan and going through this palette. That's actually less expensive than most Sephora brands as far as price per gram. But then when we go to per pan, it's $3.21 per pan, which is also on the less expensive side. So the reason why it seems this palette is so thick is because there is a brush included. I have been using this brush with this palette and with other palettes, and I will tell you that I do like it. I don't love it, but I do think that it does have its function. My complaint about, not complaint, but just my personal preference with the fluffier side of the brush is that I wish that the tapers went down just a little bit further. I like a more pointed blending brush. I think that would have been my personal choice. The other side, the color packing side, I actually really like. It's not really large, which is good for people with smaller eyes and people that want to get more detail. And also it's got a lot of bristles, so it it does pick up quite a bit of product, so I do like it, and it's not scratchy at all. I love that it says Lunar Beauty on it. I know this must have cost him some money, so you're definitely getting a decent brush in here. Is it the best brush I've ever used? No, but it is good. I also noticed that the ferrules are not wiggly on here, which is nice, which is an indication of a better quality brush. As far as traveling, it is quite a large, thick palette, so I don't know if this is something you would want to travel with. The magnet is pretty strong. Like, I have to pull on it pretty good to get it to open, but I would definitely pack this in something else, just to make sure it doesn't open by getting flicked open. Also, just about the mirror, I'm personally not a fan of an obstructed mirror. I personally prefer it to be bigger because I have trouble seeing what's happening there. I mean, I can see my eyes, but I'm having trouble seeing the rest of my face in this mirror, and he's got so much space up here. I wish that this had been stretched all the way out. I do think that it's pretty with the whole filigree kind of thing and the Be a Queen here. I think it's very cute, but I don't think it's very functional. My personal opinion of the packaging is I'm not a big fan of eyes on packaging. Just personally, I find them to be creepy. Like, this creeps me out. I think that that's just weird. I know it's very popular. It's been in lots of different cosmetic things, and it's not my palette, but this is definitely not something that I would choose. I do think it's cool with the hollow on there, but it's just, I don't know, I like this side. This side is really, really pretty and sleek, and I kind of wish this was on the front and this white just wrapped around the back. I don't know, it's just a personal preference thing. I also really like the outer carton. It's beautiful. I love the raised gold with Life's a Drag with the crown and everything. This is super cute. This side is super cute. This one just isn't my personal taste, but I can see why other people would really love this. It's just not for me. I don't know, I just kind of feel like the palette's looking into my soul, and it creeps me out a little bit. Just a little bit about the ingredients in this. It is a mica and talc based product. There is dimethicone in here. The preservative is phenoxyethanol, which some people are sensitive to. As far as pigments go, there are a few ingredients in here that are not approved for the lips. I know some people like to tap powder products onto their lips. I would not recommend that for this because it does have chromium hydroxide greens, also ferric ferrocyanide. I found out recently that ultramarines is kind of iffy as far as whether the FDA approves it for lips use. It's very weird. The FDA is very odd as far as pigments and what they approve and what they don't approve. I have a whole video on that in relation to Manny's palette. If you want to watch that, I'll put that down below. But I'll give you the quick sum up of what was in that video. In an effort to be vegan and not use carmine, which is a red pigment made from crushed bugs, they like squeeze the juice out of the bugs, which is totally gross, but it's been used for a long time as far as cosmetic purposes, but he didn't want to use that, so he used some red pigments, including red 6/7 and red 28. Those are not FDA approved for eye use, but they are approved in the European Union by COSING. So I personally, like I mentioned in the end of that video, I feel like there are going to be some people that are going to have allergic reactions to this for use on the eyes, that red pigment, but there are a lot of things that cause allergic reaction that are FDA approved for the eyes, like bismuth, oxychloride, phenoxyethanol, things like that, talc. You just have to decide what is best for you personally, and because they are approved in the European Union and they are so much better at this stuff than we are, I personally don't have a problem using these pigments on my eyes. It's something that, an opinion that I changed based on the research that I did for that video. Again, it'll be linked below if you want to watch the whole thing, but I personally, I've used all of these shades on my eyes. I haven't had any kind of allergic reaction. In that video I talked about I probably wouldn't use it on the lower lash line. I broke that in one of my tests and I decided to use it on the lower lash line. I had no problems with it. Will it be something I choose to do all the time? Probably not, but I had, just so you know, I had no problem with it on the lower lash line, anywhere on my eyes. I haven't had any problems, but I do know that some of my subscribers cannot use those red pigments on their eyes, so I definitely want to make sure you know that that's in here so you are aware, so you do not purchase it if you know that you are sensitive. So now that we've done all the details, let's go ahead and jump into the demo. Again, I am not a makeup artist. I am a makeup enthusiast. I'm having fun here, so let's go ahead and have some fun with this crazy palette.
Like I'm so perfect, like I know when I don't know. Like I deserve the shit that you put me through. I don't really do anything bad. You're just looking for a reason, get mad. Why you out here tweaking like that? Why do you go looking for something no I can't even say? Why do I get caught up in all of your selfish games? All you do is hate on me like every single day. All I know is something's gotta change. I don't lose my patience. I don't keep you waiting always. I don't make you crazy. 'Cause I'm looking amazing, yeah. I told you I'm looking amazing, yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Don't lose my patience. Don't keep you waiting always. Don't make you crazy. 'Cause oh, you know I'm looking amazing, yeah. Oh, 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 Shit, I'm looking amazing. Like I'm so perfect, like I know, no, I don't know. True. Alright, I might deserve the shit that you put me through, but I don't really do many things bad. You're just looking for a reason to get mad. Oh, why you out here tweaking like that? 'Cause I don't lose my patience. I don't keep you waiting always. I don't make you crazy.
All right, so this is definitely not my favorite eye look I've ever created, and it's because I'm rushing. It's actually 2:16, and let me show you. It's 2:16. I was supposed to pick up my daughter from her friend's house at 2:15. He just lives right down the street, but I was supposed to pick her up because we're headed over to my mom's house, and I really want to get you this video. So we're going to be speaking on not just today's application, but on the application of the last few days. I'm going to go ahead and put the look up that I really, really like that I did. I know it's still not professional because I'm not a professional, but this was my favorite eye look that I created. I'm being defensive right now because I know this eye look did not come out as good as I hoped just because I was rushing. But anyway, without me giving any more excuses, we're still going to do a wear test today, and I'll give you as much information as I possibly can. Now, I just want to mention as far as my use of beat all over the one lid that I had to remove and put back on. This is very peachy in the swatch, but on my lid, it actually comes out more champagne when I use it by itself. And I've used a Juvia's Place eyeshadows before where I've popped them over matte, colorful shades, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. It completely failed with this. So now I just know that I can't do that does not work well with these shadows because that look really, really bad. So that was just more of a trial and error moment. These are reviews unfiltered. I wanted to show you just so you know how that looks if you try it. Doesn't work well. All right, I gotta stop gabbing. I gotta go pick up my kid. I will see you all at the end of the day after the cookout. While you're waiting for me to go to the cookout and all of that, we're gonna do swatches and some comparisons and stuff because I think that would be really, really interesting. So go ahead and watch those, and then we'll be back for the wear test. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Life's a Drag palette. First, we're going to show you the more natural shades. These are finger swatches and brush swatches. The finger swatch is going to be on the left, followed by its accompanying brush swatch. And as you can see, they definitely finger swatch more pigmented than they do brush swatching. I find it to be a lot easier when shadows build up rather than when they go on super pigmented. Now, if you're new to my channel, you are new to the wipe test. And the purpose of this is to show the staining on the skin, and I have found this, and people who watch my videos have found this to be quite accurate to lasting power. So when we look at these wiped away, we can still see the lighter shades, but we definitely have those deeper shades hanging on there, which is a really great sign that the deeper shades are going to have great lasting power. Moving on to the two shimmer shades, I actually really don't like the shimmer formula in this. I find it to be kind of messy to work with and also messy through the day. I did a look with both of these shadows all over my lid, and I found they mushed together through the day. It was just kind of a glittery mess all over my lid without much color separation by the end of the day. They're beautiful in a swatch, but as far as the performance, they're just not my favorite. And as you can see, when you wipe them away, the undertone is pretty much exactly the same. And that was the problem I was having with these lasting throughout the day. There was, however, sparkle on my lid throughout the day. It was just kind of flopped messy all over, up on my brow bone and everywhere. Not under my eye, but definitely all over my entire upper lid space. Now let's go ahead and move on to the brighter shades. Again, we've got that same thing with the mattes where they are much brighter with that finger swatch on the left than the brush swatch on the right. And I am not hating on that. I find that to be much easier to work with. Now, the one shade that Manny even mentioned that is a little bit weaker is Kiki, and I have found that to be the same on the lid. It just doesn't have that punch, and when we get to the dupe shades, I'll show you one that I like a lot better than Kiki. I just wish that it was just a little bit more oomphy, but the rest of them I really, really like a lot. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about the dupe and semi-dupe shades that I found in my collection. Some of these are going to be closer than others. Some of them I just included because I thought that you would find them interesting if I did include them. I don't find this in the swatch to really come through as a true white. The Balm's Nude Tude Sassy comes off more white on my skin. It's got almost a tiny, tiny hint of peach underneath it. This is definitely not my favorite white shade that I've ever used. It's nice, it's fine, but it's definitely could have a little bit of improvement there as far as how bright the white is. There are tons of dupe-like shades for Sickening. I feel like those last two really aren't great dupes for this, but I wanted to include them anyway because I found interesting that they were somewhat close. I actually think that the ABH Modern Renaissance Burnt Orange is really, really close on this one. Also very surprised about that L'Oreal Paradise Enchanted number 8 shade. And of course, Jaclyn Hill's Butter. Wiping them away, you'll notice they all have very good lasting power. The ones that were a little bit brighter definitely seem to have more lasting power, but I'm definitely not concerned about any of these shades lasting a long time on the eye. Now let's talk about Hunty. I actually found that the Laura Lee Nudie Patootie Reveal shade was really, really close to this. It's got a very similar undertone. The other ones here are just a little bit grayer, but they are all pretty similar. Moving on to Shady, which is Lunar Beauty's black shade. Of course, a lot of brands make them black, so I just picked a handful of them for you to see. They're all quite similar as far as how they look. They're all true blacks. The Lunar Beauty one actually looks really creamy compared to all of these. I know Manny said that it wasn't really a super pigmented black, but in this swatch, it really is a pretty pigmented black. Wiping them away, you'll notice that the Lunar Beauty one really is still very much there, especially compared to some of the other ones that are there. It's a very, very nice black. I really like it a lot. Now, Trade, I thought I would have an easier time duping than I did, and I really couldn't find a dupe for Trade. I was shocked that I couldn't find a dupe for it because it's got this like maroon undertone to it. I thought I'd be able to find something in the ABH Modern Renaissance. Nothing really quite matched it. It was either a little bit too light, a little bit too dark, or a little too brown. So these were the closest ones that I had. And wiping them away, the Lunar Beauty one definitely has the most staining power out of all of the ones that I have that are close. Now, Mug is a very dupable shade. You'll be able to find this most likely in a palette that you own somewhere. It's just a warm brown. It's a beautiful shade. It's a very useful shade, and I think that's why a lot of palettes use it, but it's definitely not unique. Now, when we do the wipe test, you'll notice that the Lunar Beauty one does hang out there really, really well in comparison with some of the other ones. It's definitely a really nice shade. Beat is a frosty, peachy pink, and it is really pretty in the swatch, but I cannot get this one to look peachy pink on my eye. For some reason on my eye it looks more champagne looking. I don't know. But in the wipe test you see that it does hang out there pretty well. Even the shimmer is still there, and that's what I noticed on the eye as well, that the shimmer does hang on. It just seems to muddy into the other shades for me. With Legendary, I actually didn't have a yellow gold as yellow as the one from Lunar Beauty. I had one that was a little bit brighter of a yellow, but it was much lighter, so I didn't include that one. But these are the closest dupes that I could find for Legendary. And wiping them away, you'll notice that Legendary really doesn't hang in there very well at all. Now for campy, I wanted to have a little fun. I knew I didn't have very many yellows, so I threw in some of these shimmery yellows just for fun, just so you could see the color comparison with some other palettes. You'll notice that campy swatched actually is a little bit more mustardy and a little less bright than some of the other yellows, which was a little surprising to me. But when we wipe it away, it really does stain really, really well, and I was very impressed with the lasting power on campy when I used it on the eyes. Pageant Queen was another one that was really difficult for me to dupe. That's why I included that one really shimmery shade just to show it next to it, just to show you what it looked like. Purples are really difficult to do without some kind of gray undertone, and this one is definitely beautiful, and you can see it in the wipe test that there is no gray undertone. It does stay like this beautiful pinky purple. Kiki, again, like Manny said, it really doesn't swatch well. I really don't feel like it performs great on the eye either. And you can see the shade next to it, which is the Suva Beauty one. That is more what I was looking for from Kiki, and it just doesn't perform that great. Yes, you can use it as a transition color, but nah, I want to be able to have that choice of on the lid or a transition, and you can see that it doesn't hang out well in the wipe test either. Manny pronounces this next one Kai Kai, so I'm going to pronounce it the same way. And as you can see, I also had trouble duping this one as well. But the closest dupe, again, was from Suva Beauty. It's just this really vibrant blue-based pink, and it's really, really a beautiful shade. And through the wipe test, it hangs out there really, really well. It definitely kicks the Suva Beauty one's butt, I'll tell you that. Snatched is one that really surprised me because in the pan it is a deep burgundy red, but on the eyes it actually is more of a deep, deep pink, which really surprised me. So I had a lot of trouble duping this one as well. The other ones you see here are definitely more red to brown, but yeah, really hard to dupe, really unique shade, but it definitely doesn't look the same in the pan as it does on the eye or in the swatch. And wiping it away, you can see the lasting power on this is most likely going to be really, really good. The result for me when I used it on my eyes was fantastic, and it's a really great shade. It just looks really different in the pan. Fishy is probably my favorite shade in this palette. I just love the bright blue. It makes me so happy. It brings joy to my heart. It's not shimmery, it's not matte, it's just somewhere in between. So I've got some different examples of ones that are similar. I feel like the shade is spot on these, but just the level of shine is just a little bit different. Juvia's Place Dahlia is my favorite blue shade of all time, so it definitely doesn't hold a candle to Dahlia. Dahlia is ridiculous, but it gets kind of close, sort of, kind of. Next, what I decided to do was if there was a palette that there were more than 4 dupes in the palette, I wanted to show you them next to each other. So on the top row here, we have the Lunar Beauty palette. On the bottom row is going to be the other palette. So in this case, it's Nudie Patootie by Laura Lee, and you can see that they are quite similar, but they're definitely not the same. The white in Laura's palette is a little bit shimmerier, and the gold is a little bit deeper. Moving on to the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills, you can see these are pretty close dupes as well. At least until we get to that last one. It's really not a dupe, but I did show it in the swatches earlier, so I wanted to show it now and just give you that visual comparison so you can know what you're dealing with here. Next up, the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. I was surprised there weren't more dupes in here than there actually are. There really are very few. I do think the first 4 are pretty close, but that gold is definitely different. It's deeper in the Jaclyn Hill palette. I do like the Jaclyn Hill Pool Party much better than I like Kiki. It's got more shine to it, it's got more impact, it's just an all-around better shadow, but other than that, I feel like they're very comparable. This is another one, the Juvia's Place Masquerade palette, that I thought there would be a lot more dupes than there were. Juvia's Place is one of my favorite brands, and I do think I do like Juvia's Place shadows just a little bit more than the Lunar Beauty ones, but you aren't going to be able to get all of the Life's a Drag shade in any of the Juvia's Place palettes all together. You're going to have to mix and match to get all of those shades. Next up, the Suva Beauty one. Lots and lots of dupes in this palette. I was actually surprised that there were so many dupes in this palette. I knew there would be some, but we've got a lot of dupes, and they're very, very close. The Suva Beauty ones I find to be just a tad bit brighter, but the lasting power isn't as good on the Suva Beauty ones overall than the Lunar Beauty ones, except for Kiki. Kiki's the only one where I feel like Suva Beauty, the lasting power, is better than Lunar Beauty. And finally, for fun, we threw in the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca palette, which is a classic bright colored palette. Just the 4 shades there that are similar. Really just the 3 minus the pink are probably would be considered dupes, but I did want to show you the pinks next to each other as well, just so that you could see. I hope you found all of these swatches helpful, and now on to the wear test results and my full review. Oh my gosh, I looked at this eye look. I hate this eye look. I think this is my least favorite eye look I've ever done on camera, at least in a really, really long time. So I apologize, the look sucks, but that's what we got to go with. Tomorrow's my husband's birthday, and I can't refilm tomorrow because I want to spend time with my husband on his birthday. So we're just gonna have to go with it as is. I promise you, if I wasn't going away on Sunday, then I would refilm this, but I just can't. So let's go ahead and zoom in, and I'm still gonna give you final thoughts on this, even though I hate this eye look. So there's how it looks now. There's definitely muddying up in the crease between the purple and the browns, but I honestly think that was operator error. The other times I've used this palette, I have not had that problem, but also the colors were quite different from one another. So it's kind of a question mark, maybe, probably my fault. You can still see the brighter colors on the lid. They're still very vibrant, but they're not, of course, as vibrant as they were 9 hours ago. By the way, it is after midnight. It's about 12:30. I just uploaded that e.l.f. primer video really quickly. If you haven't seen that about the e.l.f. primer scam, it's just a little quick fun extra video that I threw up. But not threw up, but oh my gosh, I'm getting tired. Let me go ahead and zoom you out for final thoughts. So let me just tell you what I think based on all of my uses of this. Now, the brush I think is good. It's probably one of the better brushes that I've seen in a palette. Definitely not my favorite brush of all time, but it is functional. You can use it. It is a decent brush. The mattes in here are awesome. The mattes are super fab. I did use the black in a look yesterday, and it worked really well. I don't think this is the best white that I've ever used, even though he thinks it's the best white he's ever used. I've definitely used whites that I like better, but it's still really good. What's the standout stars are these shades over here, and then the brown shades here, the matte shades. Really having a lot of fun with these, and I find them to be very easy to blend together. Like the colors, all you need to do is layer them over top of each other, like back and forth a little bit, and they just blend themselves. They're really, really good. I'm not personally a fan of the shimmers at all. I find them to be, they're very sloppy. You know, they kind of go all over the place, all over the lid. Not a lot of glitter fallout through the day, but they just kind of go all over the lid through the day, kind of fly around everywhere. And I'm just not a fan of the shimmer formula at all, but the mattes are super awesome. So that makes me really happy that this is mostly a matte palette. If you have a large makeup collection, you probably have this side, you may have this side, and I would say these aren't worth buying it for, in my opinion. So you really kind of have to look at your collection and decide whether you would use it or not. I feel like it was a huge good idea for Manny to do something different, and that he's got all these brights in here, but at the same time, there's a reason why companies continue to release neutral palettes. Everybody complains, everybody says, oh, it's the same old neutral boring palette, you know, and it was smart of him in that way to release something that had something different in it. When as soon as I saw this revealed, I was like, Manny, that was really smart, because you can take these neutrals and you can just pull one of these pops of color in. But I think that the pops of color do scare some people and will scare some people away from purchasing this product. So money making wise, he would have done better to release a more boring palette, I believe. But as far as trying to keep his audience happy, keeping YouTube viewers happy, I think he was smart to release a palette with more colors. I am very happy with this purchase. I am going to be using these, and I am going to continue to enjoy them. But I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, definitely make sure you hit the subscribe button down below if you're not already subscribed, but you probably are. And if you are, thanks so much for coming back. And if you're not, hopefully you'll come back for another video sometime very, very soon. And thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. I appreciate you. You could be doing so many other things right now, but you're watching my video, and that means so much to me. Mad love to you, and I will see you in a video very, very soon.